We're driving a 2024 Mazda CX-50. It's a compact SUV. Coming up, is this thing better than the similarly sized CX-5? We'll get to the bottom of it. But first, interior.
The interior seems really simplified. A lot of the visual flair is coming from the stitching and the colorful seats.
Mazda is known for having very clean interiors, which personally I like, but I also know a guy that went to test drive a Mazda CX-50 and he thought the interior looked too plain. Hi, Brady! From an interaction standpoint though, there's just not that much to touch.
Yes, it's really easy to immediately get in and know how everything works.
We've got reasonable door storage. I can fit a bottle over here. Cup holders up front here. If I went with a really, really large cup, I think we might start getting some interference between this and the climate controls. Individual armrests that flip up so you don't disturb your driving partner if you want to get access to something.
I also like how the wireless charger tucks away under here so you're not distracted by your phone.
Moving to seat comfort. Are you comfortable?
I'm comfortable.
She's comfortable. I've got reasonable lateral support, but in that upper back region, there's this seam in the seat that, for my body type, creates some pressure points. When you start getting into the upper trims of the CX-50, then your expectations start to change a little bit. We're driving the Meridian Edition, which is a much pricier version, though not the priciest, which helps explain why we have the terracotta interior theme. Soft door panels, it's all very nice. Then when you move to the back, that door panel doesn't feel nearly as nice. That said, from a rear seat perspective, I do fit fine seated behind my ideal front seating position. I am 5'10" with a long torso. Knee clearance is good thanks to a sculpted seat back, and then the seats in the front sit up high enough that your feet can slot under them. Head clearance also good. Moving to that middle position, I don't fit well. Kiddo, how did you find sitting in the middle seat?
I have to do toes out.
So for little feet, that center position is a little bit tricky. I also wouldn't mind if the rear seats had adjustable seat back angle. We have a fixed position, and actually I find it to be comfortable, but every once in a while, you want to get an extra lean on, and you can't do that in a CX-50. For cargo space, we've got 31.4 cubic feet, plentiful for our needs, but it is not best in class. If you go with something like a RAV4 or a CRV, you're going to get more space behind the second row.
I like that there are little bins on either side to hold small items. There are 4 places to hang a bag. There is minimal underfloor storage as it's filled with a spare.
Which I appreciate having a good-sized spare up here in the mountains.
Oh, and I really like the remote releases for the seat because I am short and I have a hard time reaching them when they're actually on the seat.
And what about the latch point situation?
There are latch points in the outboard seats. They are covered with a plastic cover that easily snaps out of the way. I had no problems installing our booster.
And child, any challenges getting in and out of the Mazda CX-50?
Not really. I think it's pretty easy because the door opens wide.
I noticed when you got in, you didn't have to step on the sill. You just stepped right into the car, so not too wide a step over. And I also like that the CX-50 has the kind of doors that cover the door sill. Mud and snow and dirt and all the other crap that we collect up here. Your legs don't necessarily have to rub against that when you're getting in the vehicle. As for safety, the Mazda CX-50 is rated 5 stars overall from the NHTSA. It is a top safety pick from the IIHS. There is a full suite of active driver assist technology, including blind spot warning standard. Family, what do we think? Is the Mazda CX-50 family friendly?
Small family friendly.
Small family friendly.
Rear window test. Is that it? Partway down, high five. Bank. Armrest test. Driving in a comfortable 8 and 4, I had easy access to the inboard and outboard armrests. No stitching on the inboard or outboard to abrade my delicate arm skin. Reasonable squish factor, though it is a little bit harder on the inboard. I'm gonna go 75% inboard, 85% outboard. No, 90% outboard. I'm feeling generous. Hey, would you like to see more videos like this where we review cars as a family, plus the occasional helicopter adventure? If so, you're welcome to subscribe. And if you really like what we're doing and you want to see our videos early, which I can't see anything because right now I'm driving towards the sun, but you can see our videos early if you join our channel. Onward to style.
I really like the style.
Oh, that's it. Okay, we have some enthusiasm. Go on.
The back, how it's so rounded, and then there's those crisp lines above the rear wheels. The way the lights are super deeply inset. There's a lot of visual flair happening here.
So the version we're driving has that hood graphic, which I think elevates the aesthetic a bit. I'm not normally a fan of exterior black cladding, but I think it does add a little something. It does make it look a little more rugged. All CX-50s include roof rails standard, because, you know, that's how you go out and have adventures. You attach stuff to the roof. And in that case, we have the new Apex package. That Apex package adds these little splash guards here, plus this upper rooftop platform. This thing at speed on the freeway is pretty loud, but it is easily removable. When you have it in place, it can carry up to 119 pounds of gear outside of the vehicle, saving room inside. It's a simple and functional add-on. And if you like added functionality in your life, flying eyes sunglasses. Here I am standing trying to look cool. Is it working? With patented Resilimide construction, flying eyes are thin, lightweight, durable, and comfortable. If you're ready for aviation-grade eyewear, click the link in the description below to learn more about flying eyes, and if you use the promo code Micah to buy them, you'll save 10%. Flying eyes. One last style note, there are only 2 colors available that don't cost extra, black and blue. So if you look at these, let's say zircon sand metallic of our test vehicle, that'll be an extra 450 bucks. Overall, we really like the look of the Mazda CX-50, but what do you think? Do you like the CX-50? If so, if no, tell us in the comments. In motion. For 2024, Mazda has updated the dampers. I think you would need to do a back-to-back in order to determine the differences. What I felt driving the 2024 model was very, very similar to what I felt driving the 2023 model. It's comfortable, but the version of comfortable that is taut, but not harsh. Also, the body movements of the CX-50 as you corner are well controlled. Interestingly, the rear suspension is a torsion beam suspension, and that's a comparatively unsophisticated way to suspend a vehicle. A more expensive and sophisticated way might be something like a multi-link rear suspension, which you will find in a CX-5, the roughly similarly sized vehicle that we said we were going to talk about in the beginning of the video, and we will in just a second.
In a second, are we going to talk about it or what?
Boy, okay.
Teenage years already?
As we come through this corner here, it's more of that great confidence. There's extreme predictability. Some of that stability comes from the steering ratio. It's 15.1 to 1, so not overly quick, but not overly slow. And then there's also Mazda's technology. They call it G-Vector Control. It reduces engine torque imperceptibly as you add steering to put a little bit of weight on the front of the vehicle, which increases predictability as you're steering. It's the kind of stuff that you would never know is there as a driver, but you feel like, oh yeah, I don't know, it's just kind of going where it needs to go. And that predictability does add to a potential sense of fun in that you feel more confident pushing it because you know exactly what the vehicle's going to do it. There is also another version of fun where you're not 100% sure what the vehicle's going to do and you may have to make some corrections. It's like the difference between going to the club and going to a dinner party. This is dinner party fun. For power, we've got the turbocharged engine, which comes on higher trims. I've just floored it. And got a quick reaction from the transmission, got the downshift, got the pull we needed. We only have 6 ratios in the 6-speed automatic transmission. For a modern transmission, that's not that many ratios. For perspective, our Bronco has 10. When you're driving and then you do the downshift, instead of just like a little bit of a rev rise to give you the power you need, you'll get these big jumps. Last time we reviewed the CX-50, that didn't really bother me. I'm like, I don't know, the torque of the engine's filling in those gaps just fine. This time, I think I've driven so many other vehicles that have so many more ratios, I'm starting to notice the gaps. Earlier we talked about how this is a somewhat more rugged, compact SUV. Not only do we have a normal and a sport mode, and I do like sport mode, I'll actually use that when driving sportily, but you go into this off-road mode, its function is really more to make it feel like how it does on-road, but off-road. So predictability when driving on loose surfaces. It's not a rock crawling situation, it's more like a dirt trail situation. Ground clearance is 8.5 inches, which is better than a lot of compact SUVs. In our time with the CX-50, we have taken it on some muddy, snowy trails, and it's done a very nice job. That's what I think about the CX-50, but what does Sweetie think? Evie's at the wheel. We're making some slow speed maneuvers here. How's the steering feel? Manageable?
Ooh, yes, nice.
As you are comfortable, feel free to floor it. Would you feel confident pulling ahead of traffic with that kind of power?
I sure would.
How does it feel steering through this windy section of road?
As slow as I was going, I took that more quickly than I normally would.
Wow.
And it feels very confidence-inspiring.
Any issues seeing out of this thing?
Visibility is good all around.
If we were in the market for a compact SUV, would you feel comfortable driving a Mazda CX-50?
Absolutely. But do you have a CX-5 instead?
You're part of the problem. We'll explain what she's referring to in just a little bit. I'm getting back in the driver's seat. In total, we have a very predictable compact SUV with a little bit of off-road potential and great predictability wherever you're driving. Onward to remarks. Infotainment. We have a 10.25-inch screen that's placed high, which is close to the driver's field of view. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto both come standard and both are wireless. Whoa.
Jeez.
Can't suggest this enough. Don't drive into oncoming traffic. Back on task.
I find this infotainment system very simple to operate.
The native interface is made explicitly to use this control knob, and because of the clarity of the interface, it works just fine, really simple to use. However, when you're using CarPlay, sometimes you just want to hit that button rather than scrolling all the way over there. So to Mazda's great credit, they have made it a touchscreen. Thank you, Mazda. On another screen note, I'm a little dismayed that the 360-degree camera system is only reserved for the absolute highest trim.
And I'd like to share my annoyance that when you get in and turn on the vehicle, if your belt isn't buckled, it will immediately start dinging at you.
That's with the vehicle in park. We mentioned that when we drove the CX-90, also from Mazda, and one of the commenters is like, it's there to tell you that you should put your seatbelt on. Yeah. We know. Just start dinging at me when the car starts driving, which it also does. Chill out. Now, in the beginning of the video, we teased we were going to talk about whether or not the CX-50 is better than its Mazda sibling, the CX-5, which is also very similarly sized. So what we have is a fresher interior, more modern exterior styling, and a bit more off-road capability. To us, yeah, this is a, oh God, it's happening again. Where was I? Oh yes. Yes, this is a better SUV than the CX-5. Also, it doesn't matter. In 2023, even though there are increasing sales for the Mazda CX-50, the CX-5 sold 3 times the amount that they sold CX-50s.
But isn't it older?
Yes, it's much older. It's very, very far into its design life cycle. If I had to guess, there are a few reasons why the CX-5 continues to dominate over the CX-50. 1, it's $1,000 cheaper basically across the board. 2, fuel economy is somewhat better. 3, earlier mentioned, the rear suspension is somewhat more sophisticated. But the biggest one is number 4. It's called the CX-5, and there's so much brand equity in the name CX-5. So pro tip from Mazda, here goes. When the CX-50s roll out of the factory, just have somebody whose job it is to cover up the 0. These things are going to start flying off the shelves if you store your cars on shelves. Now it's our daughter's time to shine. Kiddo, can you share what is your favorite feature of the Mazda CX-50?
My favorite feature is a little shelf on the front of the car.
Oh, I understand why. That is a great place to have a tiny little meal or maybe a little snack or a treat.
A treat is my favorite because you can eat candy hearts.
That's a really interesting design, and I'm not sure why it's there, but hey, gotta eat your candy heart somewhere. And that was Kiddo's favorite feature. All right, let's talk engine choices. There's a base 2.5-liter inline 4-cylinder, and then there's a turbocharged rendition of that engine. If you want maximum power with the turbo engine, you better use 93 octane. With either engine, all-wheel drive comes standard, and if you want a tow, the base engine can do 2,000 pounds, while the 2.5-liter turbo can do 3,500 pounds. And no, there is still no hybrid option available.
Sweetie,
Yes!
will you share our trim recommendation?
You're right, I will. No matter how you introduce the segment. Our trim recommendation is which trim will give you the essential features you would regret not getting in your CX-50, but at the lowest possible price.
Recommendation.
For 2024, Mazda ditched the base former S trim, so now the 2.5S Select is the entry trim, and it includes dual zone climate control, full speed dynamic cruise control, and smart key access, covering the essentials. But the S Preferred trim adds heated front seats, a power driver's seat, and a power hatchback for a very modest $1,350. Given the small price bump and how much we like those features, we'd recommend the S Preferred trim. And if you're ready to buy a Mazda CX-50 of your very own, click the Kelley Blue Book pricing link in the description below to learn what your current car is worth and how much you should spend on a Mazda CX-50. As for competitors, we've got compact SUV icons like the Honda CR-V, Toyota RAV4, Kia Sportage, or maybe if you're looking for a rugged option, the Ford Bronco Sport. Did we miss any remarks? If so, tell us in the comment section. Synopsis! Thinking about the essence of the Mazda CX-50, it is stable, it is predictable. I'm doing it now too. Predictable. But there's still a potential for some fun. To me, it is the 20-year marriage of compact SUVs. And yes, that is what I said the last time we drove a CX-50, but it's hard to come up with synopsises week after week. Family, I think we've done a good job reviewing the Mazda CX-50. May I have a 5 and a 5, and you come get your high five. Bam!
And this year it'll be 25 years.
Oh my God. I mean that in a good way.